walk on by.
And so had they not intervened, I don't know what I would have been.
What secret did Isaac Hayes take to his grave? Was the legendary soul singer hiding something scandalous that shocked even his closest friends? Isaac Hayes was loved for his deep voice and unforgettable music. But did his personal life hold mysteries that fans never knew about?
The opportunity on this side, but I had to survive.
What was the truth behind the rumors? Let's uncover the story of the secret Isaac Hayes left behind.
They were very sweet people. They were very dependable, and they were very religious people too. And all the things I learned from my grandmother and my grandfather.
Born in Covington, Tennessee, as the second child of Isaac Hayes Sr. and Eula Wade. When he was young, his mother passed away and his father left the family. Isaac was raised by his grandparents, Mr. and Mrs. Willie Wade Sr. Growing up in a sharecropper family, he worked on farms in Tennessee, where he learned to be tough.
Everybody said, go to the city, things are better. But things were great in the country because we grew our own foods and everything, never knew a hungry day.
At the age of 5, Isaac began singing in his local church, and he taught himself to play different instruments, including the piano, organ, flute, and saxophone. Though Isaac dropped out of high school, his teachers encouraged him to finish his diploma. He graduated at 21. After high school, Isaac had a chance to go to college on a music scholarship, but he decided to work instead to help his family. He worked at a meatpacking plant during the day and played music at nightclubs in Memphis and northern Mississippi. His first professional music job was singing at Curry's Club in North Memphis, where he was backed by Ben Branch's house band.
I was a daydreamer, and I would stand in the cotton fields and look at planes going overhead. One of these days I'm gonna be on that plane. I just daydreamed what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be.
Hayes started his music career in the early 60s. He worked as a session musician, playing music for other artists at a record company called Stax Records in Memphis. He helped write many hit songs with his partner David Porter, like Soul Man and Hold On I'm Comin', which were popular songs for the group Sam and Dave. They also worked with other artists like Carla Thomas. Hayes, Porter, and the famous Stax band Booker T and the MGs made a big impact on the Stax sound. Later on, Isaac released his first album called Presenting Isaac Hayes. This album was jazzier and had more improvisation, but it didn't do well in sales. Around the same time, Stax Records faced big changes. Otis Redding, one of their biggest stars, died in a plane crash, and Stax lost some of its most famous music to another record company. Because of this, Stax wanted to release 27 new albums by 1969, and Hayes' second album, Hot Buttered Soul, became one of the most successful ones. On Hot Buttered Soul, Hayes took old songs and changed them into something new. For example, he turned Dionne Warwick's song Walk On By into a 12-minute version. His song By the Time I Get to Phoenix was even longer, starting with an 8-minute talk before the singing began.
She'll be working.
Hayes also wrote the song Hyperbolic Syllabics Squidalamistic, which ran nearly 10 minutes long, far longer than the usual 3-minute pop songs.
Hyperbolic syllabic sesquidalinistic.
I mean, his style was unique and helped change the sound of soul music, making it longer, deeper, and more soulful. And then came the 70s. He put out 2 albums, The Isaac Hayes Movement and To Be Continued. The first one was similar to his previous albums, with long songs that had a mix of spoken words and music. One of the standout tracks was I Stand Accused, which starts with a spoken word part.
Oh yeah, what I wanted to talk to you about is...
Another track, I Just Don't Know What to Do With Myself, was a remake of a Bacharach song, but with Isaac's unique twist.
When I'm not with you,
His second album, To Be Continued, included a beautiful 11-minute version of the song The Look of Love. This song had a smooth orchestral sound and even included a guitar jam in the middle before going back to the slow love song.
be mine tonight.
The album also had the instrumental Ike's Mood, which led into a version of You've Lost That Loving Feeling. By 1971, Isaac made music for the popular movie Shaft. The theme song became a big hit, and it spent 2 weeks at #1 on the Billboard charts. The song was catchy with its funky guitar sound and a rich symphonic arrangement. Isaac even appeared in the movie for a short time. His album for Shaft had other great songs like Soulsville
And I call it
and a long track called Do Your Thing, which was later edited into a shorter version for the radio. Later that year, Isaac released another album called Black Moses, which featured a cover of the Jackson 5 song Never Can Say Goodbye. It also had a song called I Can't Help It, which wasn't on the album.
oh so satisfied.
Isaac definitely did a lot of things in his career. After he became famous, he went on to become part of the blaxploitation film movement, which made movies that told stories about African American life. Hayes was featured in 2 popular films, 3 Tough Guys and Truck Turner. He even recorded music for both films. Truck Turner became especially important later, as the music from the film was used in Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill movies. Unlike many African American musicians at the time, Hayes did not wear an afro. Instead, he shaved his head, which became one of his famous looks. In the late 70s, he made a comeback in music. He signed a new record deal with Polydor Records and released a live album with Dionne Warwick. It was a success, and he followed it up with his studio album, New Horizon, which included the popular song Out the Ghetto. Hayes recorded a sequel to his famous song Theme from Shaft called Shaft 2. He also made the song Zeke the Freak, which became a hit and was important in the development of the house music scene in the UK. Hayes kept making great music, but his albums didn't do as well as before. He decided to take a break from music and focus more on acting. He had serious financial problems. By 1974, Stax Records was having serious financial problems, stemming from problems with overextension and limited record sales and distribution. Hayes himself was deep in debt to Union Planters Bank, which administered loans for the Stax label and many of its other key employees. In September of that year, Hayes sued Stax for $5.3 million. As Stax was in deep debt and could not pay, the label made an arrangement with Hayes and Union Planters. Stax released Hayes from his recording and production contracts, and Union Planters would collect all of Hayes' income and apply it towards his debts. Hayes formed his own label, Hot Buttered Soul, which released its product through ABC Records. His new album, Chocolate Chip, saw Hayes embrace the disco sound with the title track and lead single. I Can't Turn Around would prove a popular song as time went on.
I can't turn around, no.
This would be Hayes' last album to chart in the top 40 for many years. Later in the year, the all-instrumental Disco Connection album fully embraced disco. Later on, Hayes, along with Mike Storin and Kemmons Wilson, took over ownership of the American Basketball Association team, the Memphis Tams. The prior owner was Charles O. Finley, the owner of the Oakland A's baseball team. Hayes' group renamed the team the Memphis Sounds. The group was given a deadline to sell 4,000 season tickets, obtain new investors, and arrange a more favorable lease for the team at the Mid-South Coliseum. However, the group did not come through, and the ABA took over the team, selling it to a group in Maryland that renamed the team the Baltimore Hustlers and then the Baltimore Claws before the club finally folded during preseason play for the 1975 to 1976 season. In 1976, the album cover of Juicy Fruit featured Hayes in a pool with naked women and spawned the title track single in the classic Storm Is Over.
I'm so glad that now that the storm is over.
Later the same year, the Groove-a-thon album featured the singles Rock Me Easy Baby and the title track. However, while all these albums were regarded as solid efforts, Hayes was no longer selling large numbers. He and his wife were forced into bankruptcy in 1976, as they owed over $6 million. By the end of the bankruptcy proceedings, Hayes had lost his home, much of his personal property, and the rights to all future royalties earned from the music he had written, performed, and produced. Aside from music, he had some fun moments on TV too. One of his memorable appearances was on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Hayes played a Las Vegas minister who was pretending to be himself. It was a funny and unique role that fans loved. Hayes made a big comeback in music. He released an album called Branded, filled with new songs. Critics were impressed, calling it a return to his classic style. Around the same time, he put out another album, Raw and Refined. This one had old and new instrumentals that hadn't been heard before. Later on, Hayes showed off his creativity again by writing a special version of the Beavis and Butthead theme. He gave it a funky style similar to his famous Shaft theme. Then Hayes became the voice of Chef on the popular animated series South Park. Chef was a school cook with a love for singing funny, soul-inspired songs. One of his songs, Chocolate Salty Balls, became a huge hit.
Suck on my chocolate salted balls.
But Hayes' time on South Park ended in controversy. In 2005, the show aired an episode that made fun of Scientology, a religion Hayes followed. While he usually supported the show's humor, he felt this episode went too far. The very next year, Hayes announced he was leaving South Park. He said that while satire is important, mocking deeply held beliefs crosses a line. Hayes explained in interviews that he respected the show's creators, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, but he thought their take on Scientology was wrong. He even suggested they learn more about the religion before making fun of it.
I mean, obviously Isaac's voice is one of a kind, but we basically, we wanted Isaac or Barry White or Lou Rawls, or we wanted that 70s, like, soul brother kind of guy.
Responding to Hayes' departure, Stone asserted that this is 100% having to do with his faith in Scientology. He has no problem, and he's cashed plenty of checks, with our show making fun of Christians. According to Stone, neither he nor Parker had heard a peep out of Isaac in any way until we did Scientology. He wants a different standard for religions other than his own, and to me, that is where intolerance and bigotry begin. Stone commented that in 10 years and over 150 episodes of South Park, Isaac never had a problem with the show making fun of Christians, Muslims, Mormons, and Jews. He got a sudden case of religious sensitivity when it was his religion featured on the show. To bring the civil rights struggle into this is just a non sequitur. Of course, we will release Isaac from his contract, and we wish him well. According to a later commentary by Stone, prior to the episode's screening, Hayes had asked the South Park creators to have Comedy Central pull the episode before it aired and not include it in the series DVD, which they refused.
There's a time and a place for everything, and it's called college.
There were several different stories about Hayes' departure. 10 months after Hayes' departure, he said, "They didn't pay me enough, and they weren't that nice." In late 2007, a journalist reported that Hayes was in no condition to stay because of a stroke he suffered in January. According to a Fox News article, Hayes' agent Christina Kimball, herself a practicing Scientologist, was the source of the statements that Hayes quit South Park. Stone lent support to this view in a 2007 interview with Rolling Stone, commenting that there are reports that Isaac had a stroke and Scientology quit the show for him, and I believe it. It was a brutal, up-close, personal thing with Isaac. If you look at the timeline, something doesn't add up. In a 2016 interview with The Hollywood Reporter alongside Stone and Parker, Hayes' son Isaac. Hayes III confirmed that his father was disabled at the time of his resignation and that the decision must have come from one of his assistants, all of whom were Scientologists. Due to the absence of Hayes, Chef was voiced in The Return of Chef, using pre-recorded snippets of dialogue from previous episodes. The character was written out of the series by a scene near the end of that episode in which he is struck by lightning, burned, impaled, and mauled to death by a mountain lion and a grizzly bear, before being resurrected as a Darth Vader-type being by that episode's villains.
What do you think of the guy, Chef?
Chef is he's a different kind of character. One thing about him, he's very candid. He spares nobody's feelings. And I guess he's known for his oversized libido.
After leaving the show, his income dropped sharply, but he planned to keep going by performing and touring. In January 2007, he did a show in New York City. A Fox News reporter who knew him well noticed something was off. Hayes sat at a keyboard, but he seemed to just act like he was leading the band. His singing was slow, and he wasn't the lively Isaac Hayes people remembered. The next year, Hayes was a guest on the Adam Carolla Show. When asked questions, his answers were confusing, possibly because of health issues. A caller even wondered if he was under the influence of something. The host teased him by replaying parts of his awkward responses. Hayes admitted he had tried marijuana once, but said he didn't use it anymore. He also shared that he was no longer friends with the creators of South Park, Trey Parker, and Matt Stone. That spring, Hayes acted in the movie Soul Men, playing himself. The film about Stax Records came out in November 2008. Sadly, both Hayes and his co-star Bernie Mac had passed away by then.
If you feel like you wanna sing, 'cause singing is your thing.
Hayes had health struggles in his later years. In 2006, news came out that he had a stroke, which he confirmed later that year. On August 10, 2008, at the age of 65, Hayes was found on the floor near a running treadmill at his home in Memphis. His family called for help, but when he got to the hospital, he was pronounced dead. Doctors later said a stroke caused his death. So many questions were left unanswered. His death left fans and loved ones shocked and heartbroken. Let's take a closer look at some of the concerns surrounding his final days. Isaac had suffered a stroke before his death. So why was he on a treadmill alone when he passed away? A stroke survivor needs close care and attention. Did he receive the right treatment after his stroke? Stroke rehabilitation often includes help from neurologists and psychiatrists. Sometimes medications are needed to help the brain recover. But here's the issue. Isaac was a member of Scientology, a religion that does not believe in psychiatric help or medications for mental health. Did this belief affect his treatment and recovery? These are important questions, and we may never get all the answers. Isaac's passing also brought up another issue, his estate. Isaac Hayes wrote and performed some of the most iconic songs in music history, many with his writing partner David Porter. His work includes hits like Theme from Shaft and songs for Sam and Dave and Carla Thomas. But here's the catch. Isaac lost the rights to his songs in 1977. Thankfully, a law called the Songwriters Act gives his heirs the chance to reclaim those rights when copyrights expire. This means Isaac's family could earn money from his music again. However, fights over estates are common when a wealthy person passes away. Isaac's family may face challenges figuring out who inherits what. With over 300 original songs registered under his name, the stakes are high. It's sad to think his incredible legacy could lead to arguments instead of bringing people together. Despite the questions and uncertainties, we must remember Isaac Hayes for who he truly was. He was a kind man with a big laugh and a bigger heart. Isaac married again before his stroke and was reportedly very happy. If not for the stroke, he might have made more music. In fact, there were talks of a new album after his stroke, but it never happened. Isaac Hayes was not only an incredible musician, but he also left behind a big family. In 2010, the state of Tennessee honored him by naming a part of Interstate 40 the Isaac Hayes Memorial Highway. This special section of the highway, from Sam Cooper Boulevard in Memphis to the Fayette County line, was named in his memory. The naming ceremony happened on Isaac Hayes' birthday in August 2010. And it was a moment for everyone to celebrate his life in music. Isaac Hayes had a very busy personal life, with 11 children, 14 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren. He was married 4 times. His first marriage was to Dancy Hayes in 1960, but they got divorced. His second marriage was to Emily Ruth Watson in 1965, and they had 3 children together. Sadly, they divorced in 1972. Isaac Hayes then married Mignon Harley in 1973, but they divorced in 1986. They had 2 children, but during their marriage, Isaac went through financial struggles, and the couple ended up filing for bankruptcy. Isaac Hayes' last wife, Ajoa, gave birth to their son, Nanakwa Joe Hayes, in 2006. Isaac also had another son, Isaac Hayes III, who is known as rap producer Ike Dirty. His oldest daughter, Jackie, was named the co-executor of his estate. When we think of Isaac, let's remember his incredible talent and the joy he brought to the world. He wasn't just a music legend, he was also a great friend, a man with a sharp sense of humor. Losing him at 65 was far too soon. Now let's briefly talk about his big connection to Scientology, and he also worked on many charity projects. In 1993, Isaac Hayes took his first course in Scientology. This is a religion that focuses on self-improvement. Hayes continued his involvement with Scientology for many years, even writing positive messages for books about the religion. He got more into it over time, and in 1996, he started hosting a radio show in New York City called the Isaac Hayes and Friends Radio Show. During this time, he also started working with a vegan chef named Elijah Joy and his company, Organic Soul Incorporated. This company focused on healthy food and nutrition. Isaac Hayes also appeared in a Scientology film called Orientation. This movie is meant to introduce people to the ideas of Scientology. He was active in promoting the religion, and in 1998, he attended a special event in Washington, D.C. to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Freedom Magazine. This magazine is connected to the Church of Scientology and focuses on human rights and investigative news. At this event, Isaac Hayes joined other celebrities. But Isaac Hayes wasn't just focused on Scientology, he was also passionate about giving back and helping others. In 1999, he started his own charity called the Isaac Hayes Foundation. The foundation was set up to help people, especially in areas like education and health. In 2006, Isaac appeared in a music video for Youth for Human Rights International. This group works to teach young people about human rights. Isaac was also part of the One campaign, which aims to fight extreme poverty and preventable diseases. But his music and legacy will live on forever, touching the hearts of fans for generations to come.